beautiful day, and this is Tarantino News, coming at you live from Universal headquarters in conjunction with Unity the Movement World. And we are so happy to be here this morning. There is nothing stopping us now. It's all love this time around. This is Boxing Day. So we are not out of the Christmas spirit. We are not out of the giving mood. Today is Boxing Day, and embrace your British inheritance. Embrace your Western ways today. And if you don't know what Boxing Day is, Google it, because we will not be explaining Boxing Day. Not when I have this baby blue and white Lakers hat on. Yesterday being Christmas, at a certain point of the day, there was basketball. And it seemed like there was basketball all day long. There were no Charlotte Hornets on, so I was not paying very much attention to anything. But one thing did jump out on my screen, because I did say we do bow down to who's greater. You know, the Celtics played and they got destroyed by whoever it was. It wasn't the Lakers and it wasn't the Hornets. So I won't be mentioning who they lost to. But the Celtics got destroyed, but the Lakers won. But the Lakers winning happened last night, not in the morning. These games were all day long. So, but it didn't dawn on me until the Lakers played. And when the Lakers played, and I believe the game was at Staples Center in Los Angeles, it's when I realized that not only has everyone been bamboozled, but we are all aware of the fact that we have been bamboozled. And definitely King James has been forced to eat his own words. And even though he continues to march on and be a good soldier, or maybe he's poor and needy and he needs his checks, so that's why he's doing what he's doing. Or maybe he's, had a second thought, so that's why he's doing what he's doing. But, the NBA has climbed a long mountain, a tall mountain, just to pull the wool over King James' eyes. Because last year, or earlier this year, King James did say, if there are no fans in the stands, I ain't playing. So what did the NBA do to get him to play? They did a quick and easy thing. They took the stands away. The NBA moved down to the bubble. There were no stands in the bubble. And then by the end of the bubble, they had made a few stands for like family members and close friends, where they could come and actually watch a couple games in the bubble. But, he said he wasn't going to play if there were no fans in the stands. So the NBA simply just took the stands away. But they said that the bubble cost $150 million on top of whatever cost it takes to actually run a league, of that magnitude, to create this dreamland, Disney World, play these games. They said it costs $150 million to construct and run this bubble. So instead of, continuously appeasing the baby, and the baby being King James, this year they just like, now look, if we don't start these games, we're going to lose $500,000. And if we don't start these games by a certain time, then we'll definitely lose $1 billion. So basically, King James, man, let's go. So they got King James out there after a 2-month layoff, ready to play a season. So in the hustle and bustle of getting ready to play a new season, and the hustle and bustle of New Year tip-off and getting a abbreviated schedule together, I don't believe King James realized, or maybe he did, and I said I already gave all the reason why he may realize it and keep going. But I realized that first things first, when I tuned into that Lakers game last night, there are no fans in the stands. And, this is bigger than the NBA, and this is bigger than the man LeBron James. I'm just speaking towards the king aspect of who he is. See, I learned something about kings a long time ago because I don't take that title lightly. I'm kind of like Paul Pierce when it comes to that title of king. And where we split is Paul Pierce said he'll never call another man king, but I will. If you're the king, you're the king. But you have to take that title seriously because the king cannot go back on his word. Once the king words come out of his words are established in perpetuity. That means his words are established forever. There is no coming back from the king's word. And you might say, this is just basketball. Well, there are no wars. King James not on no battlefield. His battlefield is the sports arena. And Michael Jordan made sure that this arena is worth coveting and worth fighting for in 1992, when he basically helped make the transition from a local and a national to a global game. Now it's a universal game, because we never can forget about Munster. So when we see that this game is so serious and it hinges and it has so much power, and then the king of the game, his decrees are taken very lightly, maybe because he doesn't know the magnitude of the things that's coming out of his mouth, or he realized the magnitude of the things that are coming out of his mouth and he backtracked. Either way is unacceptable. So I couldn't really pay too much attention to the Lakers last night. Even though they're a 17-time champ, I said I'll just remain all in with the Hornets, because I was very disappointed to see that empty basketball stadium or empty basketball arena and King James on that court. I paid attention to the NBA up until the finals of 2020. The Lakers beat the Heat. I will mention a runner-up. So the Lakers beat the Heat, and those players, they were struggling with being in the bowl because they thought they should be impacting so much change. Now that was the thing that if it was a lie, they told it. They thought they were supposed to be making so much change during the pandemic and throughout the social justice movements, which which defined 2020. But I didn't hear much about, especially in the media, about players banding together and impacting change during that break. And now they're back, no bubble, but definitely playing with no fans. So it's like now they're showing their true colors. As long as we getting paid, forget everybody. It's like I've been to work in 2020, and I knew that the impact that I was making wasn't the one that I was designed to make. So it made me take a pause and like, why am I really doing this? Because I'm not impacting the people that I came here to impact. And just because I was getting paid, that was no incentive for me to continue working. Work is supposed to be about the fulfillment, not the paycheck. If your fulfillment is in the paycheck, then you need to find a better calling, one more suitable to match your desires. Because money is the answer to all things. But if money is the thing that makes you feel like as if that you have been fulfilled, then you need to know that that's not what you want in life. You gotta be motivated from your heart, and not just your pocketbook. So in terms of what's going on in that aspect of things, we just have to do better. The NBA is just like Charles Barkley said it was. The NBA is not your role model. The NBA is not your friend. If you pay attention to those guys looking for guidance, then be prepared to be led into the ditch. Because they are just like the rappers. They just chasing paper. All right. So now we must move on. And I will make a quick connection. I did say oatmeal. I've been saying oatmeal, 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 oatmeal. Oatmeal is great, but I'm talking about whole oats. I'm not talking about instant oats. I'm not talking about pour this in the bowl and then pour some hot water in the bowl and stir it up. I'm talking about pour the oats in the boiling pot of water and you have to stir them at least 5 minutes so they won't stick inside your pot. And then you eat your whole oats. So I'm not talking instant oats. Even in the old oatmeal that comes in a big cylinder container, some of those are quick oats and some of those are old oats. Those old oats, they also call them old-fashioned oats or those whole oats. But that's the ones I'm talking about. Now, any oatmeal is pretty much better than, no oatmeal. So I'm not going to be too picky. But in terms of what I was talking about whole oats. If we get some whole oats in our system, we'll be a lot better off than the other kinds of oats. And that's what I was discussing last time. Now, in terms of Christmas, Christmas is the time of year in which God not only dwells in heaven, but God also dwells on earth. Could you imagine yourself separating from yourself, putting a portion of yourself inside of human skin and sending that part of yourself to earth to do a job? Think about that. You remove a portion of yourself, okay, and place that portion of yourself that you have removed from yourself, and you place that portion of yourself inside of human skin. And then you say, all right, report to earth and be an earthling and do the very best that you can inside of human skin. So whatever that thing is, that you created, and the Bible calls it the Messiah or Jesus, this Son of God that you created has to go through the things that a man goes through while knowing that it's also attached to heaven at the same time. It feels, it cries, it needs to eat, it needs to sleep. But it also knows that it's got an immediate connection to heaven. And the only thing separating it from just going straight back to heaven is the human skin. Now, this is not for us to marvel at. This is for us to understand the plight of life within ourselves, because there is a portion of in us, our spirit, that lives forever. And it goes right back to God. It says that the dust goes back to the earth, and the dust would be like your eyeballs, your skin, your heart, your lungs, the physical components of yourself. All that goes back to the ground, but the spirit goes back to God who gave it. So don't marvel with things about Jesus are so much greater than things about you. It's the same thing as Jesus representing God on earth and God in heaven, because he was still praying to God in heaven. He's not like saying God has all the way come to earth. He was saying, I am the Son of God. Me and my Father are one. But he is saying at the same time, my Father is greater than me, because he knows that, the God, the skinless God, the fleshless God, the almighty and powerful God, the Father, has no skin. Okay. But there are portions of him that is placed in man, which give man access to be like God on earth. Be powerful, be exact, be a truth teller, be all knowledgeable, be all knowing, be all wise. You have those ingredients inside of you if you can activate them. But there are a lot of things between your spirit and your flesh that get in the way of you activating the pure godness inside of you, which most men, 99, just like germs again, 99.999% of men, human beings, tend to dwell in their physical components while they're on earth instead of their spiritual components while they're on earth, and they die the death of men. But if you live it another way and you activate the spiritual component that's inside of you and put these physical components of yourself into subjection, Then instead of dying the death of a man, you will live the life of gods. Okay? And then you'll always be in tune with your eternal self. So this is what categorizes Christmas. You know, God in heaven, and not just God in heaven, also God in earth. He's here. And if you could do the same thing, then he'll never leave. But that's why Jesus is trying to hold our hand in those gospels, in the Bible, to show us the same thing that I've done, you can do. And not only can you do the same thing I've done, you can do greater things because you don't have a certain mission. Because it's already basically understood that you won't tap into your spiritual self. But God knew that Jesus would tap into his spiritual self so he could give him a job. You know, your job is going to hinge upon, will you ever tap into your spiritual self fully? So that's the wager on most humans, you know. And when they say, you know, have you ever heard about salvation? Are you saved? So that's basically as far as most humans go. Did you get saved? Yes or no? Well, Jesus is here to say, not only should you be saved, you should be discovering your spiritual mission while you walk this earth. Then you can be like Christ. So it's a beautiful thing. I won't go into some of the things we rehashed yesterday, but I will repeat it because I am a Mike Jones fan. Most people I know that don't believe are actually the Christ of their families and their communities. And they don't get what they need to lead themselves or their groups to where they need to go just because they won't believe in Christ. And he is the one that has already walked the walk that they are designed to walk. So you should get a little upset knowing you'll never make it just because you don't want to humble yourself. And then hopefully the people around you will begin to realize one day that they'll never make it because you are their leader, okay? And they'll never make it just because you won't ever humble yourself. Because it may be a detail in there or something that you just can't wrap your mind around. But I will tell you, even if you choose the evil path, you know, and not the righteous path, there will be things along the way in the evil path that you might not quite understand. And you're still going to have to carry on in faith of your evil ways, knowing or hoping that they'll work out. So there is no route in life where you know, every detail will already be itemized, you know, beforehand and fully described. It like faith is a trap. You know, are you going to have faith in darkness or faith in light? But there will be no faithless existence. You know, at a certain point, everyone is forced to hope. Yeah, insurmountable odds. You know, relying on the belief that what you're doing will pay off in the long run. This is my, you know, request, my plea to all of us. Understand the life that we're living, you know, and embrace it. Don't ever go back on our word. Don't be like King James was, you know, speaking out of both sides of your head. And then you kind of live up to something that's going to cost you money. And then you show your true colors when you say, hopefully they'll forget what I ever said. And, you know, because you have true fans out here. You know, I'm a real fan of King James. And I'm a little hurt that he's still out there playing basketball. You know, I'm a little hurt that anybody who balling, you know, it pains my heart to see Shaq and Kenny Smith and Charles Barkley still commentating. You know, I guess making money when they know people out here hurting. And this is just a game. It's tough to tell somebody, stay at home and protect yourself and your family, but I got to go out and work and you already making $1 million. You know, I don't want to, I can't continue to just keep saying the same thing, but that is ridiculous. If somebody, you're telling them to sacrifice a couple little pieces of change that they get, let's just say I'm going to just go government on you. somebody that makes less than $100,000 a year. You try to convince them about CDC rules and regulations, but you make, let's just say, over $1 million a year, but you essential. Entertainment is not essential, okay? And if you're not smart enough to realize that you was poor before you got $1 million, and you can't live off of not another check in your life, you haven't figured that out yet. Before you got rich, and you saw how much money you was gonna make, and you knew how much money you was making beforehand, that should have been the easiest plan ever to never have to work again, off of basically 3 checks. And with signing bonuses, 1 check. So, compared to the way you've been living, it's not like you were dead on all this pain and we lived in the car and all that, y'all, athletes say, like, man, please. So if you could live in the car, now why you gotta live like you living? Put together a plan that will sustain you. So that when times like this come, tough time, you're not dependent on this. Don't get a $5 million check and then start living a $5 million lifestyle, and then you got to make $5 million a year for the rest of your life. Like, let's not do that. Let's live the life that we were grown in. Because I'm pretty sure, that's why I'm talking about Christmas. That's why I said the Christ of these communities, and they don't believe. Christ said he had all power in his hand. But his whole life, he lived as if he was born in a manger. He didn't make songs talking about starting from the bottom, now we're here. He like, shoot, started from the manger, and I'm still walking around these streets. And I got all the power in my hand, but I didn't use all the power to go get the flies this or the flies that. I didn't use all the power to do all these things. I used the power to just keep grinding like I was grinding when I, entered the trap. So the way that we apply our blessings need to be guided by Christ instead of the way that man attempts to get us to apply our lessons and apply our blessings, which will lead us to squandering our wealth. They did have a bag in those days, and Jesus had his homeboys, and one of them carried the bag, okay? But the man who carried the bag, just like now, caused the downfall of the group to a lot of extent. I will say this, because I do have a Lakers hat on today, but I do have to mention the Charlotte Hornets. The Charlotte Hornets, yeah, we get another go at it tonight, and we will be. I ain't gonna talk no cash. We will be watching intently to see if we do any better. But my favorite player has been hurt. Cody Zeller is out. He's out for 4 to 6 weeks. And the reason he's out? He's out because he has heart. Now, there's a guy, African guy, I believe he's African. He plays center. He backs up Cody. His name is Bismack Biyombo. Bismack was supposed to be playing defense. You know what he did? He let Andre Drummond get that ball, man. Andre Drummond played for the Cavaliers. He let Andre Drummond get that ball, face him up, and treat him like Pimp C. Or better yet, treat him like MJG. What did MJG say? Yeah. He crossed a trick over, back a trick down, and post up, and slam dunk some pimping in her sister if she close enough. Man, that's what MJG said he did. So that's what Andre Drummond did to Bismack Biyombo. He crossed Bismack Biyombo up, backed Bismack Biyombo down, posted him up, and he slam dunked some pimping in the whole Hornets team because they were close enough. So the coach was like, man, we got to get this African out of here. And you can't say that now because the coach, he looked like a white guy. So he like, get Biz out, just call him Biz. Everybody know Biz is the African. So, sensitive world, I can say the African, but Coach K. So they go get Biz out the game. So Cody, he pop up like, shoot, I ain't gonna let Andre do that to me. I'll die for this. He's been watching the Kobe tapes. So Cody get out there and they get the ball back to Andre Drummond. Like, he got his forearm in his rib cage. Like, nah, big boy. You ain't gonna do that to me. So, bruh, so Andre couldn't get to the hole on him. So he had to do a little Akeem Olajuwon, a little shimmy shake, and he turned and did a little hook. But Cody wasn't even gonna let him get the hook in. Like, nah, you ain't dunking on me, and you ain't hooking, you ain't doing nothing. So Cody like jumped as high as he could, man. Woody Harrelson jumped as high as he could, and shoot, he reached far back as he could. And he couldn't get that ball, so he just basically tried to come down on Andre as hard as he could. The way I would coach it. So Andre fell on the ground. Cody kept running, and then when Cody kept running, you could see him running like back to the other end on offense, but you could see him like holding his hand. But he can't. So when the whistle blew, they took him out the game. And like Cody's grabbing his hand, and basically trying to guard Andre Drummond, man. The big old monster Andre Drummond, man. He basically broke his hand. He's out. Broke his hand. He's out 4 to 6 weeks. So I don't like what Bismack Biyombo's out there doing. He's out there playing scared and he won't run. And he's supposed to be better than that. So we're going to see how we're going to go for 4 to 6 weeks without Cody Zeller. And I can tell you right now, I miss him already. Now, one of my favorite coaches in the NBA is J.B. Bickerstaff. J.B. Bickerstaff, I know I poo-pooed on the Cavs. I couldn't believe the Hornets lost to the Cavs. But one of my favorite coaches in the NBA is J.B. Bickerstaff. And the reason I like J.B. Bickerstaff so much is because his daddy's name is Bernie Bickerstaff. And these guys are like professional coaches. Bernie Bickerstaff was a coach in the NBA, and he's been a coach in the NBA for basically, I'll just say he's a lifetime coach, okay? And now his son is also a lifetime professional coach. You don't know them or herald them from their playing days, so you don't really herald them at all. But if you ever Google them, J.B. Bickerstaff and Bernie Bickerstaff, or just watch the show, we got to produce it. You'll see, like, these guys are some real live coaches. It's just like it's some families out there that are some real live referees. NFL referees, NBA referees. They come out with a plan, a life plan. And it's not the mainstream plan. Everybody don't want to be Peyton Manning. And in the world we live in, everybody don't want to be Tom Brady. But some people we can find us a niche. We can be officials. We can be the guys with the whistles that get fly on the planes and make a good amount of money. Have all access passes. And now we're about to shut down for the day. This is one thing you need to understand, since this is the United States of America. When we get all these bright ideas, most of them are doomed before they even get off the ground. Because the United States already told you what's free. So if you always try to go with what's free, you'll be able to establish a long-lasting organization, because your organization needs to be based on freedom. Because if your organization is not based on freedom, your organization will be based on overhead. So if you know anything about Daddy Fat Sacks, Sir Lucius Left Foot, he already told you that the money gonna slow down just a little bit. Okay, the money gonna slow down just a little bit, but Outkast still got a ball. Outkast still got to stand. So you got to be based on some free principles. And the freedoms in the United States, namely, I'm not gonna name them all, but I can tell you the ones you might want to just think about in terms of your businesses and your dream. Freedom of assembly, freedom of the press. They right there in the First Amendment, because I think they say right to bear arms is the Second Amendment. So it's a lot of freedoms. Freedom of religion, those kind of freedoms. Your businesses and the things that you strive for, they need to operate within something free. Something like that will make somebody have to stand down and let you continue. It's like, nah, because that's a guarantee of being an American citizen. And you're not from Mexico. And big shout out to all the immigrants, all the people that migrated here. I'm just talking about you people who are not from Mexico, you people who are not migrant workers, you people that's just living in the United States and not even embracing the freedom that you have just by being born here. Because you listening to whoever you're listening to and not understanding what this great nation has already guaranteed you. Like I watch Shark Tank sometimes. In Shark Tank, you got somebody coming in from the gate talking about they want $500,000. And you know, me being the shark that I am, I'm like Claude Banks. You know, loan denied. You need collateral. You know, that's my style. You need to come up with a plan that's not based on overhead. You need to come up with a plan that's based on freedom. You can come up with a plan that's based on freedom. Nobody will ever be able to close your doors, and you will always continuously be owned and operated by fill in the blank. Tarantino News is a great place to be. This is the throne room in Little Vatican. I'm loving it. Have us a wonderful day. Enjoy your Boxing Day. Okay. Enjoy your Boxing Day. Go snatch you up a few gifts. If you hadn't already treated yourself, you know my style. I'll do anything to make myself smile. I got a little 50 in me. And I hope you got a little 50 in you. We keep grinding. We'll keep working together. We'll keep our chin up. And we won't drop our chin. We'll keep an optimistic outlook. And we'll eliminate those pessimists from our life. It's like a little child told me, I hate bad vibes. And I've had 2 children tell me this year. One child told me he hated bad vibes. He was 17. And 3 hours later, he was dead. He got gunned down, just hanging around the wrong guys. He told me 3 hours before he got shot, he hated bad vibes. So if you have bad vibes in your life, that's what I'm saying about the end of this decade coming. If you have bad vibes in your life, and you still saying, I got to get away from them, or I got to get away from this group, or this place ain't no good for me, but you still in that web, but you still can feel yourself being pulled by them vibes, anytime it can go very, very sour, and you could be 3-6 Mafia style, laying in a pool of your own blood, knowing that you didn't do something you know you should have done. Separate from a certain kind of person. Separate from a certain kind of crowd. Separate from what you know is no good for you. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about bad vibes, getting them away from you. I don't want to be around another bad vibe if the Lord allows me to make it to January 1st, 2021. I don't want to be able to say, that's the job, I got to go. I don't want to say, that's my cousin, that's just how he or she is. Nah. There will be no lines of connection that force me to entertain bad vibes in just about 5 to 7 days. There will be no more automatic connection that force me, to entertain bad vibes. Bad vibes cost my buddy his life. And he was with his family when this happened. But he felt the bad vibe. And he had that mind like, oh, they'll get better, they'll get better. But they still hadn't gotten better because he's gone, they still hadn't gotten better. And before they have gotten better, it cost him his life. So he was the Christ of his community. Now, I know he tried his best to believe, even though he was a young man. But he is the only way that they'll anyway ever be able to reconcile with righteousness, because they know what happened to their brother. And they know what happened to the guy who hated the bad vibe. So let's be better than what we are. First thing we got to do is take a stand. We got to choose a side. That's what we've been talking about. Choose a side. Please choose a side. Quit straddling the fence. Quit looking for acceptance. Be real with yourself and step out on the ledge. Because if you don't step out on the ledge, if you don't step out on the limb, you'll never receive any fruit. Have you ever noticed on a tree, all the fruit are at the edge of the limbs? If you won't go out on a limb, you won't be getting any fruit. Have a wonderful day.